Marvel Rivals, ever since it came out, has always had a problem that left the player base with one constant question. Why do the Marvel Rivals devs hate their tanks? No, don't get me wrong, there are tanks that we've always considered to be the best, even throughout different metas. Examples like Magneto or Emma come to mind, but they've always felt like high-level tanks since their release. But having 2 to 4 tanks that are good when you barely have 13 tanks in the game is insane. Compared to the almost 40 DPS characters that exist in the game, and with healers being extremely overpowered, you start to see a pattern. It seems like the devs straight up hate tanks, or as this Reddit user put it, getting punished for playing tank is really boring. Not every character needs to be an anti-tank character. This patch has made playing tanks so punishing, even more so than when Wolverine was meta. The problem is not just the number of anti-tanks mechanic like name or squids or percentage damage character who constantly hits you. You can be completely ignored as a tank if the enemy team has a dive composition. If the enemy has a player who is average or better on characters like Spider-Man, Black Panther or Psylocke, and your team relies on a tank, you lose 9 times out of 10. There is simply nothing you can do about those characters, and they will tear through your backline. So as you can see, I'm not alone in this. Countless tank players have been complaining about the same situation for a while. After doing a bit of research, I managed to boil our problems into 3 points. 1. Tanks get no respect or gratitude. 2. Tanks get zero love from the devs. 3. Nobody likes playing tanks in their current states. First off, what do I mean by tanks get no respect or gratitude? I'm sure most tank players can attest to having played many games where they are being blamed for either not taking space or not peeling enough, even when they are trying their best and are probably solo tanking. It's a frustrating feeling to be doing the best for your team, only to turn around and see you are leading a bunch of baboons. Because I swear, the way most people play, it seems like they've never touched a controller or keyboard and mouse in their life. I'm pretty sure that there are people with no arms that play better than them. Because how is it that you want the only tank in the game that's getting CC'd and passed around like a blunt to help you, a healer who has a DPS teammate right in front of him, and you literally have an ult that makes you immortal for like 8 seconds? Not to mention, you as a tank not receiving healing whenever you decide to take space. You get hounded for not pushing and taking enough space, but the minute you decide to actually push in and take space, it's like all your healers turn into a deaf daredevil. Also, the DPS ain't doing much to help you either, because we've all accepted that the DPS in this game are playing in a single player mode and not a team game. Because how are you in the enemy backline next to their spawn and blaming the Magneto for not bubbling you? Bitch, he couldn't see you. The community doesn't help either, in my opinion, cause it's either tanks get babied, which causes bad tank players to have an ego and think they can do no wrong and turn into Erwin from Attack on Titan, because they think the only thing you need to do is just soak up damage and let the team handle the rest. But you also get guys on the opposite spectrum who think tanks should be the second coming of Christ and save their asses anytime they are even in slight trouble. But the problem doesn't stop there, cause the devs don't help matters either. How is it that even though we only have 12 tanks in the game, most of these tanks are unplayable in certain situations? Take Hawk for example. Even though he just got a buff recently, it still wasn't enough. I mean, most Hawk players have basically dropped the character because the amount of things you need to do to get value on him is way more insane compared to other tanks. Penny also has been in a state of limbo where buffing her makes her a terrorist, at least in the meta ranks. But if you were to ask for my opinion, most of these tanks need more than a buff. They need a slight rework so they can constantly keep up with the pace of the game. The devs should not be afraid to rework a hero when they see they've not been working, especially after a year, or at the very least give them more team ups between each other, because most of their team ups that at least existed between them got taken away. We can't keep the Gamma team up or the Emma Magneto team, but we get to keep Animal Crossing over here. Also, the amount of tanks in the game is too small. We need more tanks, because if the player base doesn't get more tanks soon, the game will continue to seem boring for them. Which brings us to our third and final point. Nobody likes playing tanks in their current state, because the way tanks are being CC'd and passed around each game makes the game extremely frustrating. Ask most tanks, especially Hawk players, if they had one ability they could remove from the game, what would it be? And every single answer would be the constant CC in the game. Just because of the amount of time our Hawk has tried to use their ult just to get sent to CC hell. Or is it strange trying to pull up by the eye of Agamotto just to get snatched up mid-air by Emma. All this shit is insanely demoralizing for tank players. Not to mention the solo tank epidemic going on right now, where most players prefer to switch over to 3 supports immediately after losing the first fight, without even considering switching over to the tank role, which for me is one of the worst things to ever exist in this game. But as if that wasn't enough, you have the rank up system, where no matter how much you do as a tank, just because you ain't getting 40k healing and doing 100k damage, you don't get enough points to rank up. It always feels like tanks are fighting an upward battle in rank, where people are constantly shitting on you without considering the other things tanks provide for the team. Like this user said on Reddit, why can't tanks tank? Serious question. Why don't Vanguards, the supposed tanks of this game, have actual survivability? I mean, they're called tanks, not sponges. Their purpose shouldn't be just taking damage and soaking up healing. Right now, tanks feel at best like just duelists with a lot of health, and ironically, the tankier duelists actually have better survivability than some tanks. So, all these things make me feel like the Marvel Rival devs could and should pay more attention to the tank class and see if there is any way to solve most of, if not all, these issues. Like and subscribe. Bye guys.